unmute and hear from the different rooms. I think one of the first things to just ask you about how is COVID affecting you as a professional, your volunteers, and your organization? And what are some of the things we're doing about that? So it'd be great to unmute yourself and just share some thoughts from your room or from your own perspective. That would be a good start. This is your time to chat.
Kathleen.
Hi, Charmaine.
Sorry, who is going? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. I'll go after.
Our group talked about redeployment and the stress in that of all of a sudden you're a volunteer coordinator and now you're doing something completely different to complete job loss, layoff, where there is actually no value of volunteer engagement in the organization at all. So think about the stress of that alone. And then the other thing that our group came up with in terms of the power of saying that, you know, no wonder people can understand the stress when you're kind of your whole job has been laid off. So your identity is associated with that job and how it's easy to relate to how that could affect volunteers, because for many volunteers, their giving is attached to who they are and what they, you know, what their purpose is in life. And if you take that away, the impact could be astronomical for volunteers. And we also talked about being forced to redevelop your entire program. On the first Zoom session, Anna from St. Joe's was mentioning how the hospitals revamped all their policies and procedures. And, you know, I mentioned becoming certified during, so a lot of good things have come, but they're also very stressful in terms of that's a lot to manage and to do. And then we also talked about some of the things we're going to do moving forward and the challenges and uncertainty around vaccination policies and COVID waivers and you know, re-onboarding volunteers safely. And that's, you know, a prime objective, and the stress of making sure that we keep everyone safe alone is a factor.
Absolutely.
That was kind of the summary of our groups.
Thanks, Charmaine. That's great. I'd like to hear from another group now. That's great summation.
I'll go next. My name's Madeline. We spent some time talking about you know, the importance of bringing volunteers back safely, of course, but how we need to make sure that when we're bringing them back, we're treating them the same way we treat employees, so that there's just as much value add to a volunteer coming back as there is to an employee coming back. And one person, this is kind of off a bit of a tangent, so forgive me, but one person in my first group actually was talking about one of the we were talking about like engagement strategies and ways we're keeping folks still engaged with us, even though perhaps they're not able to volunteer in the same capacity. And one person had said that they had this awesome National Volunteer Week event planned, and it unfortunately didn't happen, but they had arranged to have a drive-in night at one of the local drive-ins to watch 2 movies with all of their volunteers. And I just thought that was such a awesome National Volunteer Week celebration. And I think I might try and volunteer there now if there's free movies involved. So that's what we came up with.
Good idea. Wow, that's great. Thank you. Someone else like to share that this conversation they had about the effects of COVID, which are immediate, and then there's long lasting, aren't there? So
I can jump in a little bit if nobody else. Okay.
Sure.
I am here on behalf of the Volunteer Action Center, and we had many great discussions. There was one of our folks representing a hospice organization who actually hasn't had the opportunity to meet their volunteers. And there is a bit of a similar situation going on over in my hometown of Kitchener. We typically run a volunteer action team kind of thing with about 20 to 30 young people, but with COVID, obviously we can't meet with them. We can't ferry them around to our community partners. We can't help the Mennonite Central Committee unpack things. So it has been a transition for us. We actually had to bring on some new staff to get used to this whole pandemic online situation. But one optimistic thing that I've found on the other side of that is that back when we were doing in-person things, it was almost every other day that I'd hear some transportation, you know, one of our youth volunteers isn't allowed outside after dark. Their parents are working late and can't drop them off. Their bus route got rerouted. Their bus card doesn't have any money on it. We're out of bus tickets. And that kind of thing. Or maybe they're, from Milton, they really like what we're doing, they heard about us online, but there's no way in heck they can make that hour-and-a-half drive every day.
Right.
And what I've found with our online programming that we're beginning to do now is that accessibility barrier begins to kind of melt away. It's a great way, an easy way, so long as you have stable internet access, which not everybody does, but many do, to bring people of all walks of life together, people who we normally wouldn't be able to reach out to, kind of into our circle, and to provide that support and to provide that content. So while there are many challenges of COVID, we found that accessibility in online programming was one little silver lining to this large storm cloud we find ourselves under.
Right. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. That's a great idea. And I like the idea of looking for the silver linings. And as we know, I mean, I've said earlier, the communication now is based on internet accessibility and your bandwidth, which I know very well. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And when we think about our volunteers and ourselves, I think we now have a different perspective on the mental health aspect to it that maybe we hadn't thought of before. And I'd be interested to see if anybody actually had a conversation about the mental health, either for yourselves or for your volunteers. What are we doing about that? How can we help ourselves and how can we help others? Anybody want to sort of speak to that issue?
So Kathleen, it's Lola up in Ottawa. Just wanted to
Hi,
share
Lola.
that, yes, hi. We've met each other several times, so it's
Yes.
nice to see you, and I'm happy to see you're very active. Thank you very much. So I just wanted to say that I started meditating, doing the meditation for 10 minutes when I start the day at 8 o'clock. And I found that it's really helped reduce some of my stress because of all the changes that's happening at Ottawa Public Health. Doesn't take long, but it does change your mood. And it's really been helpful in terms of mental health. So just a tip, there's all kinds of meditation pieces on the internet. Just have to go in and type it in and it comes up. Thanks, everybody. And good luck, everyone. And until May 12th.
Thanks so much, Lola. I appreciate that. Anybody else like to share something that they thought about I think Lindsay also was doing some meditation. She talked about that. Any thoughts about how we consider the mental health aspect for our volunteers? Maybe we haven't thought about that before.
This is Laura, and I think I put it in the chat, but I do tea and chats weekly with my volunteers so that I send it to 200 people, I may get 8, but it's just a casual chatting connection. And my volunteers have also gotten into sending me memes and jokes and things that have come across their desks. And I gather those into a Word document and send it out every week with my tea and chat reminder. And so I get a lot of engagement from volunteers who may say they can't come to the tea and chat, but they just really appreciate the funnies and the laughter. And I think it's something that I don't know I'll ever be able to stop. I might have created a monster, but they're enjoying it. And it's really been something that's connected us throughout, COVID. I give them little updates about what's happening or, and it's just light and easy. We talk about books, we talk about whatever, the wind sort of blows. So it's been a great to get to know my volunteers on a different level because we have personal conversations, not, we talk about Netflix or books, but, or ancestry.ca or things that they're doing that you normally don't have time to have those conversations with when they're in volunteering and you're racing around and chasing programs. So it's been great for my volunteers. It's been great for engagement and allowing them to come back. And it really has been for my mental health. They all tell me they love it, but I think sometimes they do it more for me than them. It's just been a great thing.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I think the challenge for us is going to be that when we get out of this messy middle that we're in right now, because we can sort of see there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but we're not there yet. And the fact that we need to be as kind to ourselves as we are to other people. And not only about putting ourselves, thinking about ourselves first, but also remembering that we're all at different stages and, on that continuum. And it's about understanding the rules and appreciating the rules and valuing the difference in people because some of our volunteers are going to be more resilient than others. And some of us are more resilient than others. And we have to be a little bit more understanding than we would normally be. And maybe that's stretching us a little bit, which is not a bad thing because it's about learning new things. But I think I would like to just sort of wrap this up by saying that having conversations like this and having conversations with each other is really helpful, because there's so many organizations I've been involved in, and I'm sure like you, that we're the only ones doing our job, or there's very few of us, and nobody else really in the organization understands it. So we're being charged with having to create or recreate or change or shift not only our roles, but the roles for our volunteers. And this is not easy. This is organizational change that we have to put on a dime. And so, you know, good for you for doing what you're doing and for adjusting as much as you can. And I'm so proud of all of you for taking this opportunity to talk to each other, to examine this very, very strong issue. And also just for taking back some of those ideas to your organizations to help us, so that when our volunteers do come back, they come back to a healthy, safe, well, and welcoming organization. So thank you to all of you. Thank you, Sue and Angel, for giving us good information today, for sharing some wonderful thoughts, and just for, I think, inspiring us to feel a little bit better about today. So let's hope that the sun comes out tomorrow. Thank you.
Because I've got my sunglasses ready when it does.
Oh, right.
Yes, we do.
And I'm on the beach.
On behalf of everyone at PAVRO, thank you very much for participating today. For those who were able to join us on Tuesday, for those who will be able to join us next week for the third session, we really hope you find these valuable, worth your time, sharing, networking, all the great stuff. PAVRO has so much to offer each of us. And I want to thank my co-host for her fabulous mentoring video that I hope you got to see on the break. If you didn't, I hope we're going to get a link to that, because PAVRO is here to support our members and our volunteer engagement community. It's so great. I'm so pleased to participate today. Thank you for my breakout groups for letting me share that. I'm a little off today, but you know, being able to talk with all of you, getting some encouragement, the smiles, the laughs, the thumbs up. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating. I certainly want to acknowledge my co-host Amanda, who is going solo next week, and I know she's going to do a great job.
Well, I'll definitely miss you next week, Helena. Thank you so much. I've had fun these last two sessions co-hosting with you. Well, anyway, I will connect with you soon. And thank you, everybody. We hope to see you on the 12th. It's not too late to sign up to attend the 12th if you haven't already. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, PAVRO. You got this.
Ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami.
Good dancing, Michael.
You're right for this, aren't you?
I love your dancing, Michael. Michael and I work together.
This is, I think, by Jerusalem.
It is such a wonderful, uplifting song.
Michael, of course, you started dancing.
Have you seen the challenge, the worldwide challenge to this, Michael?
Oh,
If you go on YouTube, just look up Worldwide Jerusalem, and you'll see people from all over the world dancing to this song.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh my gosh, Mike, we gotta find that video.
I will. I'll do it after this.
There's a lot of them.
That is such a great idea.
Come on, Alex. Wave your hands. There she goes. Woo!
This is how we do in Toronto. You can tell we work together. We've got the same craziness.
That's great, guys. Awesome. Okay, people are leaving us now.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Michael. You
Bye,
made
Mike.
my
Thanks
day.
for coming.
You made my day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze